Good morning. Welcome to our Monday morning meditation. So good to be here with you today. Oh, I just went through a wonderful retreat this weekend that was local with some people that I have been with for many years, meditating every week and gathering once a year for this retreat. And it was such a joyful time and so powerful for each person. Each person got something different out of it. And um, certainly I did. And I'm so grateful for that time as we were just kind of decompressing after the long weekend of processing and meditation. um, we were gathering around and I was talking with a couple of people about what's happening in the world. And I know that impacts each one of us in a different way. I was, they were talking about how, what they're hearing from their friends and family and the worry and the concern that's happening. And certainly it's understandable. And I was sharing with them that what I feel my role is for myself, as well as for the people that I work with, is to keep myself, do my own work, to keep myself out of my fear and to support my people in doing that for themselves as well. Because being out of our fear, which means what in this world right now, right? What does that mean, being out of our fear? It means being in a place of trust, being in a place of realizing that my fear isn't going to help anyone, especially myself. And so being able to step out of that and um, just be, step back from it and just be out of the fear. And I don't know how else to explain it. I'm sure you know and have experienced before a time where you have felt afraid of something that you were doing. Maybe it was a step you were taking, a new home, a new job, a new relationship, getting married, having a child. Like there's all sorts of possibilities in our life journey to have fear come up about something that we're venturing into or something that we're experiencing. And think of a time when you have had a situation like that and then been able to say, okay, I can get through this. I may feel afraid every step of the way, but I'm going to keep moving. And that is being in charge of fear rather than fear being in charge of you. So you have had probably many, many experiences like that, but we forget, right? Because we just do what we got to do in the moment to keep moving forward, fortunately. So in a time where maybe there's chronic things going on that are causing anxiety, that's when it's most important to be present with the work that we're doing and being congruent with that place of peace of mind. I printed out this morning the spiritual thermometer that I have shared before in the past, and it is in the book by my spiritual teacher, Jane Elizabeth Hart, Spiritual Power Tools Support for Your Soul. A little plug here, available on Amazon. It's the third edition, just printed last year or earlier this year. I don't remember now. It's been a blur. It's been a long year. Anyway, the spiritual thermometer is in the book, as well as other things that I talk about all the time with, on our Monday morning meditations and in my work. And certainly these are all tools that I use myself every day, every day. Anyway, back to the spiritual thermometer. I'm getting excited. So the spiritual thermometer, Jane Hart created to um, have an image for herself on her own journey to keep herself out of her emotions when things were coming up. And she was working through all the different, I won't even go into all the different experiences she had that she talks about and shares about on her journey. But the spiritual thermometer was one of them. And it's basically, I don't know, it looks backwards in my image, but hopefully it's not. But it is in the Spiritual Power Tools book and on the website, Center for Enlightenment, for free. You can download it, copy it. I used to have this on my refrigerator all the time. Probably should put it back up there. But it's a way to check in and see, where am I at right now? Am I in fear, or am I experiencing fear but stepped back from it? So you can see the spiritual thermometer goes from 1 to 10, and a 5, Jane says, is our neutral place. It's where, we're not feeling really, really good or really, really bad. We're just even keel, right? Anything below a 5 is when we are in our emotion. And that could be excited, like we can get so excited that we're not making clear decisions sometimes, as well as the fear that can keep us from making clear decisions, or anger or sadness and grief can keep us from making clear decisions, because when we are below that 5 in our emotional state, our brain is wanting to make decisions to stop feeling what we're feeling. So we may make a decision out of fear to, go this way instead of that way, but that could be the exact wrong thing to do in that moment. And we don't know because we're not thinking clearly, right? So we want to be above a 5, even at a 6 or a 7. A 7 is peace of mind. And 8 is discernment, discerning, okay, what's the right action for me to take? So discernment is even above peace of mind. So peace of mind isn't even our goal. It's like, okay, now I'm feeling at peace. I'm not in my emotion. Now I need discernment. What is my next step? And maybe I need to sit with that and journal about my options, or journal my fears to release them and to step back further for them. 9, I think that's 9 in there, is clear think, and 10 is I am presence. 10 is that space of silent peace. That is our natural state. It's our natural state. So anything above a 5, we're doing great. So this was just a nice visual that Jane created to help herself stay above her emotion. You can come up with your own visual to do that. I like using this in my meditation time sometimes, where when I first sit down, I'm using the spiritual thermometer and visualizing myself rising up. Even if I'm not particularly in an emotional state, I will still picture myself just letting go of everything that is in my space internally, all around me in my energetic space, and just let it just dissipate away, and feel myself rising up away from all that's below, in the more survival and so forth. So survival part of our of my being. I'm getting caught up on a thought here. I actually had a picture of this in a workshop one time, where I put this side by side with an image of the brain. And if we think about this part of the brain, is our survival mode, right? It's our fight or flight area. And so as we support ourselves in regulating with our breath, regulating with going for a walk, regulating with talking to somebody, journaling, playing with our animal, just having that unconditional love in our laps, all of that can help lift us up. And as we're lifting up on the spiritual thermometer, we're lifting up out of that part of the brain that gets into fight or flight, that gets into perseverance, right? Where we are just kind of stuck thinking about something over and over and over again, and not able to push beyond that, just kind of stuck on, what am I going to do? Like deer in the headlights. That's down here, and again, even when we're elated, even when we are like, oh my gosh, I feel so great, I'm on top of the world, that's still below that, because that fear center and our excitement center actually come from the same part of the brain. So even that excitement can push us into a state of not thinking clearly. So just to be aware of that. It's not that we don't have to feel anything at all. That's not what it's about. It's about being a witness to where am I at? What is my emotional state right now? Am I thinking clearly? How many times I know for me, so many times I've been in this excited state and I've agreed to things that later I go, oh, that was really dumb. I don't want to do that at all. Or, One time I was offered to help somebody move their refrigerator. I can't move a refrigerator. What was I thinking? But I went and helped and did the best I could anyway. But that's my favorite example of, not the only example, but my favorite example of like, what was I thinking? That is dumb for me to volunteer for that. Anyway, so yeah, so you can get your own image of being able to step away from the emotion, to let it be at your feet so that you can feel it down there. We're not going to be devoid of emotion, until we're enlightened, whatever that means. But we are in charge of stepping away from it, and we are in charge of being able to train our mind body system, to train our mind, drain our mind, that too, but to train our mind to not be caught up in that, whatever emotional state comes up. So that's what we're talking about today. I just figured that was a good thing to bring back into our Monday morning meditation, that spiritual thermometer, because of what's going on in the world and what can we do about it if we are immersed in our emotion. We can't do anything, and we certainly have a harder time making clear decisions for ourselves. So we are going to practice being above a 5 today in our meditation time. So, and if this image doesn't resonate with you, don't worry about it. Think of like, okay, what image works for me? What image helps me feel out of my emotional state? So I invite you to get comfortable in the place you're sitting if you're not already. And we start with a deep breath or two to just help the mind-body system shift gears, slow down, let go. And just focus on your breath right now, that breath that is our natural regulator of our mind-body system. It's our 24/7 tool that we can grab onto, and when we recognize we're in an emotional state, we can grab onto that breath and just say, okay, I need to step out of this state right now, this state of emotion that feels overwhelming or that is causing my mind to race. And we just use that breath to say, okay, I'm just going to breathe right now. I'm going to let that belly pull the breath in. And you can even imagine that breath going from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. And we let that breath just be its own natural pace, but still conscious, still being aware of that breath coming in and out so that our mind is focused on that breath. And just let any worry, any concern, any problem that needs to be solved, just to fall away down through your feet, into the floor, into the earth, down below that 5, where it resides, where it belongs, where it dissipates as we let go and rise up. To feel the peace, that neutrality at the 5, on that spiritual thermometer, rising up to that peaceful breath, that breath of fresh air at the 6. And as we let go and allow ourselves to rise above, we might experience that mind getting quieter and quieter. And when thoughts come up, we just notice them and just let them float away, just dissipate. From the mind, from the heart, or down through the earth. And in that light at the top of the thermometer, we just sit in that light, in that peace, and just let that peace flow through every cell of our bodies. Our journey is about becoming more and more aware of where we are in a given moment, supporting ourselves and rising above the emotional state that has its purpose, but not to live there or make decisions from that place, accept the decision to work through whatever is keeping us there so that we can release it and rise above to clarity and better decisions for whatever's before us to move through. And this ability is innate. All we have to do is practice. And if you have time to stay in this 10 on the spiritual thermometer this morning, I invite you to do so. If you need to go about your day, just take this state with you. Check in with it. Observe and bring yourself back to this throughout the day, every day. And I will add a link to the spiritual thermometer that is free online and to the spiritual power tools on Amazon in the recording on YouTube. So you can access that anytime. And in the meantime, it's centerforenlightenment.com. So that's pretty easy to remember. Anyway, thank you for being here today and sharing your love and light. And I look forward to meditating with you again next week. Bye-bye.